Welcome back to the House of Zane. We're here for our last European matchup today. My name is F. Dot, and that guy over there, well, that's good old Anatoly. We've got two guys coming together, two evenly matched teams, which should be a nice change of pace.
It's going to be Leftovers versus Cringe Crews to end the day of the European day number 2 for week number 1. We're going to see some interesting stuff out of these two teams. They really haven't been able to find a win quite yet. Now's somebody's turn.
Exactly, and I think these teams, like I said, they're more evenly matched than some of the matches that we've seen earlier today. Leftovers, I think, had a lot of potential last year, and Badger just sort of dropped the ball. Swapping in Murrdurr might be the change that Leftovers really need, whereas Cringe Crew, again, another team that just seemed half a dollar short, they make a switch over to their solo lane with Zyrhoes coming in, might be a good change.
It was Cringe Crew that were number 3 for a while going into the second half of the split until Hungry for More were the ones that were able to overcome them, found their way into DreamHack. Now Cringe Crew missing that opportunity with their changes. They want to go back into it.
Exactly, and I think, again, both of these teams, when it comes down to it, we've seen the top. We've seen Panthera, we've seen Paradigm. We are established that those teams are some of the more dominant guys on the European side of things. As well, we've seen some of the bottom teams. When it comes to these two guys, Leftovers and their opposition, Cringe Crew, it really comes down to these guys are looking to make the statement, what side of the halfway mark do they lie on? Are they a top 4 team or a bottom 4 team? And I think not just today, but their performances for the next couple of weeks will obviously show us which ones wind up where.
Going into the game currently, Cringe Crew, they need to find a win here if they want to have the same kind of performance they did in the spring split, especially against Leftovers that have been uncharacteristically sort of underperforming, I would say. They have better potential, I would say. They haven't found the right tools. We see Cherryo sometimes ping-ponging between jungler and mid position the last split. Now going back into jungler. And
I'm excited to see him back in the jungle position. Cherryo is one of my favorite players to watch in the SPL. He is a dynamic player. He brings a lot of high-tempo character selection and play style with him, and I think that works in the mid lane, but it just that type of fast-paced, gotta-make-it-happen type of attitude works better in the jungle.
We've seen a lot of nausea out of him during the spring split, specifically paired up with the Scylla, but now a lot of teams neglecting the Scylla because of the purple pot change, which also indirectly affects a lot of these junglers that lean on that nausea pick.
And Cherryo has a good Naja, but also some other choices. And to be fair, I think that even in a world without a power pot, Naja is a totally fine selection.
Absolutely, especially if you elect to be very aggressive right off the bat. Look for those invades potentially. We haven't really seen that many quite yet in SPL where you go for the Harpies into the blue buff delayed invade. We saw Paradigm, we saw Cyclone GG do an interesting strategy to go from blue to speed to right Harpies because they were afraid of that invade.
Exactly. Yeah, sometimes people will mess up or change, usually winds up being mess up their jungle start because of that, the threat of the invade. And Leftovers go the Nemesis Fafnir. If you told me there was a production error, and that's just what we saw every time, I'd believe you. But because of those two bans, Kuang left open for Cringe Crew's jungler.
Instead of going for the Bacchus, we saw how powerful Kuang was earlier on in the day. It's just had so much success currently, and that's the whole point of Kuang. You want to be able to find the burst damage, get off that snowball that you really want.
Again, a single player god. Kuang really requires a lot of execution on the jungler side, so we'll see if Cringe Crew can make that happen. Whereas the Leftovers of Bacchus and Hou-Yi, more team-oriented, right? Bacchus is going to allow all the other 4 players on his team to initiate while still doing a lot of damage himself. And Hou-Yi, I mean, we've talked him to death over the past year. He is the guy when it comes to beating people up.
Especially when you don't have to worry about a Nemesis, Bacchus becomes that much more of a prime target during these picks and bans, electing on the other side to pick up the Neith for Cringe Crew. Could go mid, could go dual lane, synergizes very well with Kuang. We saw it earlier on in the day. Paradigm were running Neith on Lobster.
The Ares selection, I always love the Ares selection into the Bacchus because not only does Ares only counters Bacchus if you're the first one to hit go, right? If Bacchus gets the initiation, well, oh well, it's already a little bit too late. Ares can ult and make the counter initiation, but that's a different story. Ares is looking to get the chains before Bacchus can even think about jumping in, and EmilZy, definitely the type of player that really wants to make that push.
And this forces leftovers to start picking up gods that have those crowd control immune ultimates against this Ares. Bacchus and Hu-Yi don't have it, Naja does. So the rest of these last two remaining picks have to somehow work around both Kuang and this Ares.
We'll see where that goes ahead and finds itself. Leftovers are going to make sure that Cringe Crew do not have the ability to select these magical hunters that we've seen do so very well. Neith almost expected to be played in the mid lane at this point for Cringe Crew, or virtually all the teams here. When you see the Neith mid, when you see the Neith pick, it's still ambiguous, but it used to be 80% hunter, 20% mid. And then I think we've gradually seen the shift to where it's probably going mid lane when you see that Neith.
Especially paired up with Kuang, you want to be able to get somebody in the side lanes low enough for an easy gank opportunity. Yeah, you can find the execute on against soul laners that don't necessarily have that crowd control immune ultimate.
Ram will be the hunter of choice, so Neith, again, still likely to go into the mid lane, although yes, Snoopy did play the Ram mid, but just Snoopy and Snoopy alone played the Ram mid. Everybody else winds up putting Neith right there in the middle lane. Ram will be combined with Ares, Kuang in the jungle, and the solo lane for Zyrhoes today for Cringe Crew. Keep in mind, this is a veteran player, but a new role swap. So certainly something to keep an eye on.
A good mix between Cringe Crew's early to late game currently. They have the Ravana and the Neith for the early game, as well as the Ares, and then you have the Kuang and the Rama for the crazy hyper late game carry potential.
Yeah, a lot of changes here. Our tier will be going head-to-head against Zyrhoes' Ravana. So a lot of options coming out from the guys in the solo lane. And one of the nice things that I like to see about Cringe Crew is that Zyrhoes is shaping up. We saw his first shot into the solo lane, and it worked out well. It worked out pretty well. And I liked what we saw. But the Ravana selection is very standard. And this is really kind of a barometer of where Zyrhoes is at, right? We saw interesting picks. Ravana is, well, that's your solo lane standard. How well does he do on it?
And I love the idea that leftovers having the second pick, waiting for that solo lane matchup, the counter matchup. Tier's doing a great job in general just to be able to sustain in the early game against a very aggressive Ravana.
Yes, aggression, certainly the word for it. Nika on the tier, rather, almost said Thor. Nika on the tier. Nika's a player that has really, you know, we saw him for an entire split, and I still don't have a beat on him. I can't tell you if he's, I mean, I can tell you he's not the best, I can tell you he's not the worst, but when it comes down to it, he's not even that inconsistent. He plays well, he plays fine enough, he winds up being very okay.
It's all about how you synergize with your team. You want to try to look for those plays, but at the same time, you don't want to overcommit, find some deaths, and then just allow all the objectives to be taken away from you and your team. So as long as we see leftovers, look for the rotations with Nika maybe going Lawbringering over the top, then that's something that could open the door for them.
And like we were talking about when it came to Cherryo, very strong Naja, and he'll select the character with or without a red pot, and certainly coming through here. Cherryo's been playing Naja since way back when. One of the more adept characters when it comes to this god. Really, Cherryo is just, he's good at finding these technical junglers, sort of despite his well-known lag problem living out in Egypt.
It's a high risk, high reward, and I love the idea because you're going up against the Kuang. So as long as you can land your sash, land your ultimate on this Kuang, and you take him out of the fight, whether or not you kill him, you take him out of the fight, that's a huge win for your team.
So Cherryo and Zeus will go ahead and confirm these right-hand harpies. Those ones already taken down and now about to look towards the left. And really, these guys, I mean, it's all about the bounce, right? Ring bounce, lightning bounce, either way. You don't want to walk near these two. Again, right sides, those look like they went to Neith.
It looks like it, but we did see the detonate coming out of Dodo. He hit level 3, so I'm assuming that he did confirm at least one out of the two.
Yeah, when the when the Harpies go down to Zeus detonate, they'll get that fried look. Those looked pretty natural. So
EmilZy hitting level 3, not good on the chain, so gonna have to disengage. They still have a nice wave advantage. Those 3 archers in the big gladiator minion. Shaggyshenk looking to find the poke exchange between Arkkyl.
So when we look at these two, matchups here in the long lane, the Ares next to the Ram, and then of course the Bacchus next to the Hou-Yi, in general, it's pretty even as far as the push is concerned. I think Bacchus and Hou-Yi bring a lot, but Ram brings a lot of threat alongside Ares.
They both have great synergies. Ares brings up the wave grouped up. We have Shaggyshenk on the Rama being able to astral arrow through the whole wave. On the flip side, it's going to be dependent on Murrdurr finding the belly flop aggressively to stop that kind of a push.
Nika's getting pushed under his tower right there. Damn. Zyrhoes are on top. I mean, we always see a little bit of a differential, especially in a matchup where one player is going to be above another, like a Ravana. But that was 100% HP to less than a quarter. That's rare to see that much of a spread.
This early on, Tyr struggles at level 3. Once he hits 4, he's going to have the second point into his defensive power cleave. Should get off to a good start in terms of sustaining it up. Doing a great job also avoiding those shots from Zyrhoes.
Which honestly is probably a gift to Zyrhoes at this point. Taking a lot of those tower shots this early on would probably deal more damage to the Ravana than he would deal out.
Yes, definitely. A great job. Now, Nika, he's going to be able to push out the wave from Zyrhoes. Then this is where the sustain really comes online. He's going to stay in the defensive stance as the wave concludes and going to just force out more potions out of Zyrhoes.
So again, two teams sort of on the cusp of greatness last time around have made 2 simple changes. Cherryo has changed from the mid into the jungle, and it looks like this one certainly going to work out as Cherryo and Dodo combine for the kill. Doesn't even need the Zeus ultimate, but drops it anyway. First blood going the way of leftovers.
Focus the Guardian. Clear-cut strategy out of leftovers. There was no ultimate quite yet. Only level 4 onto EmilZy, electing to go for the blink instead of the purification, wanting to go for the offensive style. Cherryo taking advantage of that, paired up with Dodo on the Zeus. That's going to be a strategy that they can continue to try to exploit, and Cringe Crew has to be careful now because of it.
And that's going to push, like you said, that's going to push the power of the mid laner up just a little bit, and where Cherryo goes from there is a big deal. Shaggyshenk gets his roll interrupted, but leftovers don't take it.
Don't want to really contest, just going to want to push out the wave. The red buff has respawned. That could be an option that they go for. The Ares just now hitting level 5, going to be able to pair up with Kero, finding the red buff. Bacchus around the corner. Meanwhile, Arkkyl, he might be looking for these boars on the left-hand side.
I mean, he's certainly looking for something. The boars will be easy to take as a Hou-Yi, and that's one of the benefits of having this character. The triple bounce on some of the jungle camps is very applicable when it comes down to him. Murrdurr's gonna get caught out, but maybe he's the one catching out EmilZy. Stun successful. And the rest of leftovers going to come around the corner from the mid lane.
Cherryo level 7. The Spirit Hour connects onto one target, but not going to be able to find the second one. Repikas making his rotation towards the mid lane, but it looks like leftovers, they're just going to grab their own red. There's not going to be much team fighting quite yet. They're both feeling themselves out as the game starts off.
Right. These teams played very standard Smite, I would say, last split in the spring. Nothing too over-aggressive, nothing too simple. Love the weight from Cherryo right there. Grabs the Sash, doesn't immediately ult, and Shaggyshenk changing things up, forces the miss from Cherryo. Here comes EmilZy with the turnaround, grabbing 0 players, but Cherryo fights into it anyway, and Arkkyl gets the kill on EmilZy.
I love the play from Shaggyshenk, though. Ricochet just barely not able to confirm the kill, so either way, finding EmilZy for the second time in a row. Leftovers doing a good job applying a lot of pressure.
I thought Arkkyl had it, totally. I thought Arkkyl had it. He finds the shot, but just barely. Too much HP on that target for Arkkyl to walk away empty-handed. But yes, the turnaround kill does go the way of leftovers.
And I like the idea that Shaggyshenk had. When he went into the sky with his snipes, he immediately canceled his ultimate as soon as there was enough distance between himself and Cherryo, because he knows the distance of that ultimate. He created that distance, walked back under his tower, and the Neith ultimate also helped out a lot.
And it's also the timing, right? A Ram goes up, and you can count the seconds to when he comes down. Most Rams Rams will wait the entire length of the of the ultimate. So you'll see Cherryo go and walk away and then come back and then, all right, Ram's coming down. Now, that's when you aggress, right? Well, just throwing off that timetable allowed Cherryo to miss his ult pretty much.
EmilZy for the third time in a row getting targeted leftovers. Still the same strategy ever since the first blood. And Cringe Crew, they don't respond. You can't leave this Ares alone. He's level 6. He's still not even that tanky. He went for the Mad Guy's boots instead of any sort of defense.
And that's not unheard of on the Ares, but now that you're 0-3 and 0, it's going to certainly hurt you. Again, we saw this opening day for the North American squad. Polar Bear Mike went in Ares, and quickly, because of lack of purification, you can see the blink again on Ares. It's oh wow, Gold Fury just taken away. Leftovers off to a very stark lead here, 6.5 in. An Ares that wants to get ahead. It's so balanced on the razor's edge.
Great strategy by Cringe Crew, trying to find something at least with the World Weaver combination. Barely able to escape with his ultimate to show. Now level 10, a level ahead of Repikas.
So EmilZy going to go into the enemy jungle with Repikas. I like this play. Even though you're down 0-3, you've got to make something happen. He'll take some experience off of this as well to keep him relevant. You can see, despite being down 0-3 totally, he's even with Bacchus.
And it's also because of the fact that he's basically doing a little bit of damage as opposed to the Bacchus that's being tanky. He found some mid-harpies at the second respawn. He found some of these back harpies because he constantly is not in the waves. He has to be able to somehow find the farm elsewhere.
Wow, yeah, I didn't even realize Bacchus rocking the Tims. The tank boots. We don't really see that too often on Bacchus specifically. He's a character that throws his weight around quite literally, using damage really as a peel, similar to an Ares. But Bacchus here going for the tank boots.
He wants to make sure that if he's the one that's going to get pulled, that he'll survive that initial burst damage, and then he'll disengage shortly after. And now on the side of Cringe Crew, they were going for an aggressive strategy because of the blink, because of the Mad Guy's blessing onto the Ares. But how can you be aggressive when you're the one that's being aggressed on?
Exactly. Now you have to turn around, and the problem is, which is why I pointed out the Bacchus boots, is that Bacchus, right, you're not going to get in trouble for building too tanky. Well, you're rarely going to get in trouble for building too tanky on a support. On a support, building too much damage can certainly turn you into trouble. So just having Magi's boots, you can see no purification in Magi's boots. Ares has been the prime target for leftovers. 3 kills on the support alone in 6 minutes.
Cherryo looking for another gank in the dual lane. They found the Ares upon the rotation. They forced out the purification on Shaggyshenk during the first gank and still making a presence known. He wants to be able to rotate and find anybody.
And it's going to be the support one more time. EmilZy taken to the sky. 2 players waiting at the bottom, and EmilZy going to be under half HP. There's the response. Zeus takes him out again. 4 kills in total, and 3 of them on the mid lane.
Spirit Arrow was not on the mark. Cherryo barely escaping as a result. Repikas under his own tower. Murrdurr. Arkkyl on the backhand side connects on the ricochet, but not on the in-hand.
And the ultimate just again. Poor Arkkyl. The second time he's watched somebody walk away with 5 HP.
One more sun would have confirmed the kill. Backflip from the Neith. Meanwhile, Solane just trading out poke between Nika and Zyrhoes. But this is the point in time that Tyr is the one that's going to outtrade you because of his sustain.
Yeah, we've made the swap now. Early in the game, Robin's going to just go to town on the Tyr, but once Tyr's able to put points in that power cleave, that's really what it's about.
Zyrhoes just has to basically time his overhead kick to avoid the fearless combination chain, and then he should be fine. Nika on the flip side, he just has to stay in defensive stance to outtrade.
EmilZy gonna grab one, and Murrdurr is just toasted. Tank boots or not, doesn't matter. Kero gets the last hit, but it's all the damage from Ares and the Neith that really go to town and bring one down.
These poor Guardians, they're the only ones that have died so far. Murrdurr with his first death for the Cringe Crew, and all 4 deaths on EmilZy.
Repikas actually got up into the ultimate right there. If the last hit comes at the exact same time as the execute, sometimes you could go into the dragon without even pulling off the kill. So an assist on the jungler, the first one, whereas across the way, Cherryo's got 4.
Cringe Crew doing a good job invading the solo jungle side of leftovers, taking the speed for the second time in a row, stripping the blue buff away for the first time, slowly cutting the lead away from leftovers.
Very important plays for that to happen as well. Nika caught out mid-dash with the chain. EmilZy on point.
This is why Ares is so good against Tyr, to find these kinds of chains. You prevent him from having 2 of his escapes on the offensive and defensive.
Ooh, Cherryo gonna miss that ultimate. Not going to be on point, but Cherryo has really driven the pace of the game here. This is Cringe Crew are playing Cherryo's game, not even leftovers. Cherryo walks around 77 seconds on that ultimate. So at about 11 minutes, 12 minutes, Cherryo's going to make another gank. Watch.
Especially onto Kero. His purification was used despite the gank not being successful. It sets up for the future gank, and this is the kind of mentality you have to have as a jungler. You have to force out these early relics and be content with the non-kill because there's still an open window for you.
Right, and you look at that missed ultimate, it certainly hurt. But it's about the next time around. The purification's down, and we'll see if the target is hit that time. TheDarkDodo has had a wonderful time sitting next to Cherryo here. Having a jungler like Cherryo makes you... Dodo has done a fantastic job. I don't want to give all the credit to Cherryo, but you certainly get to look good when your jungler's setting everything up.
I mean, you casually throw out your ultimate on top of the Ares that's in the sky, finding a lot of easy kills. Yeah,
yep.
This looks pretty good.
It's
feels good, man.
Exactly. And, one of the things that Adonis always brings up about Zeus is that Zeus generally winds up falling behind because he's pushed on his tower, just because of the way push works out in mid lane. Zeus, a very unsafe character. If you're the one hitting the gas, if your jungler is the one going deep every single time, Zeus can afford to walk off the tower. He actually finds himself up 300 gold. Such a rare sight to see a Zeus ahead of a Neith.
Gold Fury has respawned. Cherryo still playing aggressive. Gets spotted by the ward from Shaggyshenk, so just going to retreat back under that tower.
And that's that 12-minute gank. The ward stops it, but Cherryo looking for somebody else now. Doesn't want to go for EmilZy, doesn't have the teammates. Turns around, sees all three, takes him to the sky, right into the damage from the mid lane. Arkkyl finally gets one. There's the kill for the Hunter. And over by the gold series, sun's raining down. Everybody looking at Zyrhoes as the solo lanes make their rotation. And Kero tries to take out Cherryo as well, to no avail.
Great job by Zyrhoes so far. He forced Arkkyl out of this fight completely, so technically it's still a 4-on-4, taking a lot of damage. Forced to use the Sanctuary is Cherryo.
Shaggyshenk from a distance. Cherryo gets taken down by the Ram, and the Ram was nowhere to be even seen. The artillery shots from the sky, wonderful play coming out from the Hunter.
Just great rotation. Zyrhoes making a presence in this team fight. If Arkkyl stayed around, it would have been a 5-on-4 in response, and that death wouldn't have happened. Cherryo would have had more assistance because Arkyl's DPS would have chipped away at Zyrhoes to prevent him from sticking on anybody.
That's very true. That's very true. Arkkyl finally, though, gets a second kill of the game. You can take a look at the damage. Arkkyl sitting there, number 3 on the team, 4 overall. It's lower than I expected. I feel like Arkyl's made a lot of flashy plays. I think that's why I thought he was a little bit more in the game. I was so excited that he got a second kill.
He was doing a great job rotating as well, applying a lot of pressure, but in mid lane, finding a pull. EmilZy going to be targeted yet again.
And there's Repikas trying to bring somebody down low enough to execute, but the damage is being dealt elsewhere as well. Repikas takes Dodo just before he gets taken out.
And the discipline from Cringe Crew. They don't want to dive that tier 1 mid tower. They're going to grab the right side mid harpies instead. Repikas very low. He wants to be able to catch up because he's a level behind Cherryo.
And Cringe Crew are playing the behind game very well. You noted the right side invades a lot of the time, and here the safe, let's retreat, but go for the mid harpies as well. Cringe Crew are getting all of these minor objectives, and they're doing it very quickly and very efficiently. They're not sticking around to allow the enemy team to really bite them in the butt, and they're certainly not biting off more than they can chew. We don't see these gold fury baits. We see like a blue invade.
And now Cringe Crew, they have a small goalie despite giving up first split, despite giving up a gold fury around 6.5 minutes. And EmilZy, even though he's 0-5, he's not worth any more gold anymore. You have to kind of change your target. He's level 11 right now. He provides a little bit of defenses with bolster defenses, but that's not the target you really want to go for anymore.
I mean, again, you're not keeping him down. He's even with the enemy Bacchus, so it's not like you're hurting him any more so than your Bacchus is really getting hurt. Murrdurr has died once and has the same amount of farm and experience as the Ares that has died 5 times.
And despite working out in the early game, sometimes you have to know when to shift your strategy. Focusing in Ares is good in the beginning of the game, getting that initial lead, but it's what you do with it afterwards. I would rather see Cherryo focus more onto Repikas or Shaggyshenk in these team fights.
Right, you focus the Ares early on to sort of keep him out. An early game Ares can really run the lane, and then of course the mid lane as well. So you focus him down so the damage doesn't mean anything. Now that it's mid game, Ares is going to be Ares. You've taken the frightening part of Ares' game off the table. Now it's time. So you say it's time to focus somebody else. Who are you really looking at on the side of Cringe Crew?
I'm looking at specifically Shaggyshenk or Repikas. Their damage is just too high. Kero is going to be providing more of that utility style with the World Weaver. He's going to be very far in the back, but yet again finding EmilZy, but switching to Kero.
Love the play coming out of Cherryo. Kero 50%. There's the rain and there's the hits. Kero's going to be fine as he backflips out, but everybody around Cringe Crew in some trouble. Murrdurr blocks the Neith ultimate. Well played by the support. Zyrhoes surrounded by the leftover, but still finds an exit. Can't say the same for Repikas. Arkkyl jumps over the top. So does Tyr. Nika and Arkkyl both get the Goomba stomps. 2 kills for leftovers.
Nika did a great job zoning away Repikas at the beginning of the teamfight in mid lane, poked him out quite heavily, and then at the end of it, found another kill with the addition of Bacchus leap. Yet again, EmilZy, great job preventing that knockup.
But still, EmilZy, low HP. If he thinks about contesting the gold tier there, he's worm food. So leftovers get the objective. And now Shaggyshenk trying to get his own boars in trouble. Sash, knockup, and shot down. Total 8 kills for leftovers in 16 minutes.
Just so quickly has the game turned. It was about an even game a minute ago, and now all of a sudden leftovers wide open. 2,500 gold, 3,000 experience. They just didn't have the vision on Gold Fury after losing that team fight. Just slight mispositioning by Shaggyshenk.
And again, gotta go back to Cherryo, one of my favorite junglers to watch in the league. That Naja play, I mean, it's not Cherryo specific. That Naja play is one of my favorites. Sash the closest target and then ult the further target. You create so much distance, you close so much distance, and a lot of times catch the player off guard. Kero didn't expect that. And like we said, Kero made it out for the moment before Arkkyl jumped on top of him, but was completely irrelevant in the team fight.
It's all about the mind games with the Naja, and that's why sometimes we'll see Najas pick up an early blink, looking for that aggressive play. But if you can utilize that mechanic between the stun and the ultimate to a different target, then that's the perfect maximization of your character.
A lot of players will, you mentioned it earlier with a different ability, or Adonis mentioned it earlier with the Ymir freeze. A lot of players internalize the distance of the abilities, and so when you look at a Naja, you keep your distance. All right, I'm out of sash range. I'm out of ultimate range. But are you out of sash and ultimate range? That's what a lot of players didn't, that's what Kero didn't think about right there, and why Cherryo's able to take him to the sky, and why leftovers find themselves with a slight lead. 3K in the direction of the red squad today, 18 minutes on the clock, and 5 kills in the lead as well for LFTO.
As a result of this lead, Cherryo wants to still play so aggressive, ping-ponging between duo and mid, gets spotted out by great wards from Cringe Crew, but it's going to be very dependent on how this initiation begins.
And that's something that Cringe Crew has always had in their wheelhouse. Fantastic ward vision. A little bit of aggression coming out from Murrdurr on the backside, but again, the wards are from Cringe Crew, going to catch everybody out. So Leftovers says that's enough sneaking around. We'll just siege right up front the entire team in the mid lane.
EmilZy looking for the potential blink pull. If he finds more than one target, he's more than likely going to go for it. His shell is down, however, so if he commits to that initiation, he could get blown up.
Could? We've seen him get blown up.
Did he accidentally use the shell before? Did he mean to blink?
10 seconds ago? I'm not sure. Not sure about that one.
Sometimes it happens when, like, as a player, you sometimes will forget to switch your relics from one place to another. So maybe EmilZy was looking for the blink initiation, instead accidentally procced his shell because there was no team fight happening. I
mean, that's even one of those mistakes that the most casual of players can recall doing that once upon a time. I've done it.
I've definitely done it as well. It's a very common mistake to have. And now as a result, EmilZy, he has to be careful, wait for those 90 seconds before the next engagement.
Especially in the position that he's been in playing on this Ares, right? I mean, Shell, once you go in, you're going to see the Ares blink Shell and then ultimate just to really mitigate some of the damage that people... Because when No Escape comes out, everybody just talking to the Ares. It's the oldest trick in the book.
You want to be able to lock him down. His movement speed is so hindered during that ultimate. Once upon a time, his movement speed didn't get hindered during the ultimate, so you would use your sprint, use the ultimate, and then you would just go really fast.
Gotta go fast. You know, sprint has an interesting interaction there. I didn't realize it worked that way. Leftovers, again, sieging the tower. Cringe Crew a little bit late, but tower falls down right in front of their eyes. Zyrhoes on the right side, EmilZy in the front. Has 2, grabs 1. There's the flip over to avoid the pull. Nika will be safe. Murrdurr gets pulled, but he's got the tank boots. No problem. Support won't die. Left tower goes down as well. Arkkyl didn't even need to be there. Does the business in his own lane. 1,000 gold in total for left and mid towers.
Leftovers didn't want to fight there, despite the initiation from Cherryo onto Zyrhoes. Just wanted to zone Zyrhoes away on the right-hand side. The ultimate from Dodo just created that distance to disengage after the mid tower. And because of the overcommitment on the tier 1 mid tower defense, Arkkyl finds a free one on the left.
And Arkkyl has been a fixture of this matchup. 4-0-1, already level 19. You can see his build just chugging along there. A little bit of lifesteal, a lot of attack speed, and those chin size. A very basic attack-oriented build for the Hou-Yi, which is, I don't know. A lot of times we see more focus on the transcendence when it comes to Hou-Yi, the attention to the ability base.
This is a kill Ares build on Arkkyl. He wants to be able to shut him down as quickly as possible during that blink no escape option. Just taking that hunter, taking the Guardian right off the table without committing the Nausea ultimate will allow Leftovers to really focus the backline once EmilZy's gone.
So with the tankiness of the Ares and the Ravana as well, Ravana becomes quite a nuisance later on. The chin side build coming out of the hunter Arkkyl will certainly help him out in regards to those players, and shouldn't be too big of a deal. Cringe Crew, on the other hand, they're down. They're underneath the fist of Leftovers, but they're certainly not out of it. A lot of eyes on this Shaggyshenk character for sure.
Only about 3,000 gold behind. Gold Fury has respawned. Cringe Crew trying to control the vision around this side of the map. Has to respect the space that Murrdurr and Cherryo, just initiation-wise, you can't be too close to this level 19 Nausea.
And you can't be too close to your teammates either. The ring bounds, and as I mentioned before, the Zeus bounds. Both of these are going to create problems. Cherryo staying aggressive. He's spotted out on the ward. Goes to Shaggyshenk, gets out the purification, chooses a target, stunned. Still trying to figure it out. Doesn't trust his ability on the Repikas, so instead will just get his own purification chased out.
Double purification used. Zyrhoes forced the ultimate away. Murrdurr could potentially look for a flop here. There's no tier 1 tower to retreat to.
And that's why Leftover is going to completely get aggressive. Down come the Suns. EmilZy's forced to walk right into Nika, and Murrdurr puts him down. Zyrhoes still in trouble. Fearless on the backside. Zyrhoes gets tossed and juggled and put down. Repikas takes out Dodo, but it's after the ultimate. Arkkyl seals the deal on one. Repi barely alive, knocked up, shoved down. Arkkyl gets another. That's half a dozen for the hunter, a dozen in total for the team. Leftover's gonna take a tier 2.
They're not done yet. Nika forcing the purification out of Kero, just doing a great job zoning, even though Kero didn't really want to defend that tier 2 tower. Just Nika putting a lot of pressure.
Waiting for the heal. Nika gets out of there, no problem. Pushing up, allowing his team to take out the tier 2, like we said. And great combination of team abilities, Tolly. Leftovers completely just team fought flawlessly.
So it was a great job by EmilZy finding the double purification. Sanctuary was down on Cherryo, but the patience out of Cherryo was just on point. We also saw Nika doing a great job forcing the ultimate from Zyrhoes because the rotation was a little too quickly underneath. There was no tier 1 tower to retreat to. Yep. As a result, Leftovers recognizes, forced the engage. EmilZy had nowhere to go. He had no ultimate, no blink available. Instantly gets turned on, and the team fight heavily in the favor of Leftovers after those 4 kills.
Yeah, I mean, it was just wonderful the way, so down comes the ultimate out of Zeus, forcing EmilZy to walk into a direction he doesn't want to go into. The follow-up kills. Zeus dies, but it's fine. A lot of times it's okay if Zeus dies after he gets his damage off. Well, you get a detonate, you get an ultimate, and what else are you going to do? So the jungler takes him out, and it was already too late. Arkkyl is able to finish the deal with a couple of fancy plays with a ricochet and basics, and that's pure team play. A lot of times you'll see these individuals come out and it's just, you know, I'm a guy, I got 4 abilities, let's go for it. Leftovers played that fight like one team with 20 abilities, and I love to see that.
And plays like that is how you extend the threshold lead. You go from 3,000 to 7,000 gold with plays like that. You have to be grouped up, look for somebody out of position. Murrdurr was potentially looking for Zyrhoes there, instead trying to bait out Cringe Crew going into the jungle.
This is a much better team for Murrdurr to be on. Murrdurr originally out of the Titan squad. Titan, once upon a time, made it to Worlds #2, and then just goes all their separate directions. This is the second team that Murrdurr's on since his Titan run, and this just looks like a more cohesive squad that he's used to. Doesn't find the knockup, but a little bit of poke.
A lot of poke, actually, on Dodo onto 3 separate targets. We see Kero finding the retreat under his own tier 2 tower. Cherryo just creating the distance.
This sort of team play is what put Titan on the map, and Murrdurr coming into the Leftovers. Leftovers were looking for that type of team play originally with Bacchus. Badger. Didn't really go that way after the beginning of the season in the spring split. Now with Murrdurr, Cherryo can combine with DarkDodo, working well while Nika provides the push forward as a traditional solo laner does. Leftovers are playing this very reminiscent of that full teamwork that Titan is known for, so Murrdurr fits right on in.
Cherryo finding the ring bounces, trying to look for the poke. Zeus was there behind him, and just so much threat alone from the Sash ultimate from Cherryo, everyone from Cringe Crew retreating.
And that's because he's set the precedent in this game. He's going to sash you, and he could ult any other person around, so it's going to force so much pressure. If Cherryo did that once or twice this game, and if he doesn't set that precedent, Cringe Crew doesn't have to give him that much area respect. So how you play in the early game will dictate how your opponents play in the mid to late game, and Leftovers taking full advantage of that. Get a free tower on the right.
So much patience out of Leftovers. They find the tier 1, they reset, they're still waiting in the jungle for anyone from Cringe Crew to overstep. EmilZy, he has to play so passively here. His blink gets canceled because of the combat ring bounces. Now could look for it though.
Zero's up in front like he should be. There's the Bolter's defenses and the blink forward. 3 players grabbed, 1 player pulled. Murrdurr's not that much in trouble. EmilZy gets jumped on again. Dodo off the assist of the solo lane. Nika with a fantastic combo, shoving the player right into the wall. Now it's a 5-on-4, baby. Leftovers looking directly at a T2.
The Hu Yi and the Zeus ultimate is all you need to split the team fight into 2. Nobody could save EmilZy in that position. Credited, now rewarded with that tier 2 tower.
It's just not. That play isn't going to work. EmilZy ulting. EmilZy almost cannot ultimate here because he's going to get a giant circle put underneath him, and Nika's going to push him further into it. I mean, is there a way that EmilZy can get an Ares ultimate off as an initiation?
Well, at this point in time, that was his best opportunity to try to go for that play because there's no Fire Giant quite yet onto Leftovers. Right. The tier 2 tower, Cringe Crew are not that far behind, but they have to try to stop this Fire Giant. It's getting really low.
Instead, they're going to come for a fight. Zero starts punching down DarkDodo, but Dodo's got a protector. Arkkyl's going to jump back onto his mid lane as well. Rob's in the sky looking for the artillery. Finds 0 out of 3 shots, but Cherryo certainly finds one and takes him down. Repikas dies with a combo jungle mid.
And not going to be done. Nika finding Kero with a nice blink. Fearless, the second death. Now the Fire Giant should be uncontested, but they're looking for more kills instead.
And Arkkyl again, everybody around EmilZy. That's going to be the 8th death for the young support player. Unfortunately, has not found his footing here. Murrdurr leading the charge. Is it a gold? Is it a Fire Giant or a mid tower? Looks like 4 players say fire.
It has to be the Fire Giant, but a great job so far out of Zyrhoes and Shaggyshenk going for those buffs instead of contesting right away.
Nika pushes out Zyrhoes while the carries take a look towards the objective. Everybody else takes a look towards Zyrhoes, just pushing him out of any thought of the Fire Giant. Cringe Crew now find themselves down 12 kills, 10,000 gold plus, and of course the Fire Giant that we just see applied from Leftovers.
They're going to go into Zyrhoes. He doesn't have his ultimate. He has the speed buff Arkkyl a little low. He wants to commit. He's going to find the jump at a great overhead kick. Zyrhoes with speed buff should be able to get away though.
And again, that's you see how hard Arkkyl hits that Ravana? That doesn't normally happen. That's the tank shred build. You've got the attack speed, you got the chin side, and the penetration from the Titan's Bane.
It always helps to have Mark of the Golden Crow as well for the late game scenario.
Free penetration, I'll take it. Trading out the starting item for the Odibo. So a lot of attack speed, coming out from Arkkyl there.
So Fire Giant now on Leftovers. They're in a great spot to really close out the game, but they still have to be a little bit calculating. They don't want to recklessly commit too hard and then all of a sudden get Ares pulled to oblivion. They have to still be calculating with their relic usages.
And again, the Odysseus bow on Arkkyl. So you got another bounce here. Cherryo's got a ring bounce, Dodo's got the lightning bounce, and Arkyl's going to get the basic attack bounce. No blinks, thank you. No blinks. Everybody in combat. That's what Leftovers are looking for here. They see the areas, and they see the Kuang with the blink as well. Everybody's going to be in combat. No surprises.
That makes it that much more difficult for Repikas to really commit to a team fight. He has blink as well. And even if you're hitting either EmilZy or Zyrhoes, if Repikas is nearby, it's going to spread onto him as well.
Mid-Phoenix being aggressed on by the Leftovers. They've got a huge lead. Cringe Crew really have to make this one count, whether they want to defend here or a different Phoenix. Looks like here, but there's just no tools. Down come the Suns. Arkkyl gets the kill out of Zyrhoes. EmilZy's just going to pull the support, and Arkkyl jumps right after his dual lane partner. Couple of shots left, couple of shots right. Nika confirms the kill on his Shaggyshenk, while everyone else goes deep. Cherryo takes out Kero. There's only 2 players left from Cringe Crew, and the Phoenix goes down.
And because of how low they are, after the meditation, going to switch over to the left side Phoenix now. We do see Nika zoning in the back, and this could be it.
And I love the play. Everybody takes the safe route except for Nika. Look, if you want to look at my team, you got to go through me first. I'm a level 20 tier, 3, 0, and 10. I've got all the HP in the world, and I'm going to push you in the opposite direction. PS, team, how many Phoenixes left? 0.
With that, Cherryo looking for more aggression, trying to find a kill. The respawns are going to happen in about 10 seconds. Zyrhoes is coming up, but this Titan is going to fall for the first game.
That's it. Leftovers take game 1 in just over a half an hour. Very fantastic play, calculated. They had a game plan, they executed, they bring it home.
It looked like Cringe Crew was going to be able to come back slowly into the game, but after that one team fight on the left-hand side, Cherryo was doing such a great job applying pressure between dueling and mid the whole time around.
Yeah, bouncing back the entire game, just like his rings. I mean, Cherryo really, this game was very interesting. Cherryo won the early game for Cringe Crew. Then the mid game is really won by Dodo and Nika, I feel, in their team fights. And then the late game gets shifted over and Arkkyl just brings it on home. But Cherryo dictated the pace of the game. And if you go to Smite 101 and say, hey, what's a jungler's job? It's exactly that.
Just applying so much pressure onto EmilZy. He had 8 or so deaths, maybe even more at that point in time. The first 4 deaths from Cringe Crew were all onto EmilZy because of the strategy that they had the whole time.
Just look at this battlefield vision coming out of Cherryo. You can almost see the way Cherryo's looking at it in those team fights. He gets oopsie daisied on the Ram, and I think that's the only ultimate that was immune. All of the other purifications was waited out by Cherryo. Had the patience. Used that word a number of times to really describe this game.
It was also the addition of Nika on the tier with his rotations. He found a great job zoning away Zyrhoes at one point in time. He was doing a great job on Repikas, specifically on the left side mid Harpies. And these little small skirmishes between forcing purification, whether or not it's Cherryo or Nika, is what allowed Leftovers to find the first win.